tradition. Most of the time, they just go set up, and if they get run off, they get ran off. This year, we were on a cruise and learned that some good hunters had set up on us, and I had to call neighbors to have them run off the fish. I'm Brady Ross, Arkansas News Service. I'm going to trust in the service.org.
Yes, we coming in hot this morning with Community Voices right here live at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. I am your host, the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise. And live in studio is your co-host, the Pastor, Toney Orr. Grand rising, Tony.
Good morning, everybody.
Do you have any announcements that you need to make?
No, I just want to thank Pat Rogers Ward, Sylvia Brown,
I
and,
don't know her last name, but
and,
yes, Sylvia.
and everybody who showed up on Saturday night in Wrightsville at the Wrightsville Community Center for the Wrightsville 21. It was a awesome time of celebration, memorials, and just seeing the families of some of those young Black men who died in that fire. It was a great opportunity just to get together. Had a lot of different people there. Tara Shepard was the keynote speaker. You had Judge Wendell Griffith speaking, and Monty Hodge. He spoke, and so it was a great gathering.
Oh, yeah. And I just want to add to that. I want to say one of the things that Wendell Griffin said that I really appreciated was he said was, let's stop saying that though they lost their lives.
Yes.
Their lives were taken from
Yes.
them. And so they did not die. They were murdered. They were killed in that fire.
Murder.
So I want to make sure that I continue to do, I want to tell the whole truth and nothing but. I also want to remind those people who did show up. First of all, thank the community showed up. You talking about all the politicians that showed up, but it was loyal listeners up in there
Yes.
too. I'm
Yes.
like, yes, for the
Man,
Lord. I'm telling you,
man.
every time, Mr. Henderson was in that too.
Yes.
It was a lot of people in there. And so I just want to, we talk about this every single week, how grateful we are for how you show up for us and all of the myriad, the plethora of ways that you show up for us. For that, I am will be forever grateful. Thank you so much. Hotep already on the line, wishing us life, prosperity, and health. I see you, Hotep. I want to make sure that you know that you are greeted this morning in the spirit of Sawubona, that spirit of oneness that binds us together by our humanity. And we center Blackness on this show in the context of the human story. So everyone that considers themselves to be human, you are a part of this story, and we want you to take part of the story. The phone lines are not open right now, but they will be open. I will let you know when they are open, but they are not open right now. And the reason why is because I'm not going to start today. Well, obviously, I didn't start today with a song. I'm not going to start today with a tidbit because I want to reclaim that time. I need that time so that we can listen to this video. The video is it's 16 minutes and 48 seconds. 16 minutes and 48 seconds. I want us to listen to this video. And I think it's worth every single second, or else I would not be playing it. So let me say shout out to Hotep, because you sent me that. When I tell y'all that the loyal listeners be sending me stuff. The loyal listeners send me stuff all day and all night, sometimes in the wee hours of the morning. If you were over there in my bedroom and you saw that light, because since I'm hard of hearing, I got the light, my phone lights up. You would think the police was in there. And so I thank you for that. Those of you who, Mr. Jacobs, he was at the event on Saturday, and I saw him. I usually see him at events, and I told him next time I want to be with you when we can just sit down and talk to each other. Stop listening to everybody else talk. And so I appreciate you all always sending me things that you think are going to inform me and educate me. Sometimes you ask me to read them because you want me to answer a question for you. Like, it doesn't matter why you send it to me. I am so grateful for it. So I'm going to pause right now for this video. And I hope that you will, I'm going to ground our conversation in the video. That's what I'm going to do. Okay.
Same day it published. While dying of leukemia in 1961, this black psychiatrist created something that turned college students into revolutionaries, got smuggled across borders and hollowed out Bibles, and made the CIA put him on a watch list. He raced against death to finish one final message to the colonized world. Your chains are in your mind. Violence will set you free, and your oppressors are more terrified of you than you've ever been of them. 3 months later, he was dead. His book is still igniting revolutions. What made one man's ideas worth killing? Fanon told colonized people worldwide that their mental enslavement mattered more than their physical chains, and that force against oppressors wasn't just justified, it was psychologically necessary for liberation. Steve Biko built South Africa's Black consciousness movement on his theories. Palestinian fighters and liberation movements from Bolivia to Ghana still quote his manifesto like scripture. They couldn't kill his ideas. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why empires still fear a dead man's words. But to understand why those words detonated across the world, you need to see where the explosion started. July 1925, Fort-de-France, Martinique. France Fanon was born into a middle-class black family on a Caribbean island that looked like paradise, but functioned as a psychological prison. His parents scraped together money to send him to Lycée Victor Schellcher, the island's elite school. But what happened in those classrooms was calculated violence. Every morning, black children stood and recited our ancestors, the Gauls, memorizing French kings and European battles, while their actual ancestors lay in unmarked graves on sugar plantations. When young Fanon spoke Creole French, teachers scolded him for not using proper French. Speak Creole? Primitive. Mention African history? Ignorant. Only French mattered. French language, French heroes, French culture. One teacher refused to participate in this erasure. Aimé Césaire had just created the Negritude movement, teaching that black identity was power, not shame. He planted seeds in Fanon's mind about pride and resistance, but seeds need fire to grow. 1940. Vichy fascists seized control of Martinique after France fell to Hitler. Suddenly, French racism wasn't polite anymore. It became official policy. Fanon, 15 years old, watched the mask slip off. The civilized colonizers revealed themselves as brutal oppressors who had always been there, just hidden behind promises of equality. Fanon was 15 when he watched French civilization reveal its true face. 2 years later, he volunteered to die for it. At 17, Frantz Fanon joined the Free French Army in 1943, believing he was fighting for liberty and human dignity. He fought in the forests of Alsace, took shrapnel near Montbéliard, earned the Croix de Guerre for courage under fire. French officers pinned medals on his chest, then barred him from their mess halls because of his skin color. When Germany finally surrendered, Charles de Gaulle ordered every black soldier removed from formations entering German territory. France's victory parade couldn't have black faces visible in the photographs. The men who bled for France had to watch from the sidelines as white soldiers took credit for their sacrifice. Fanon wrote his brother Joby from Europe, "I've been deceived, and I'm paying for my mistakes. I'm sick of it all." That letter marked the death of one Frantz Fanon and the birth of another, a man who would spend his life diagnosing and destroying the psychological machinery of white supremacy. Before we continue with how Fanon transformed his rage into the most feared revolutionary text of the 20th century, if you believe these stories of black intellectuals who terrified empires need to be heard, subscribe to Black Stories Untold. We're exposing the thinkers they tried to silence and the truths they spent millions covering up. Now, back to the video. 1947. Fanon entered medical school at the University of Lyon to study psychiatry. In Lyon's hospitals, he treated North African immigrant workers, Algerian men suffering psychological breakdowns that French doctors diagnosed as proof of racial inferiority. Colonial psychiatrist Antoine Perrault published papers claiming Algerians had underdeveloped frontal lobes and were mentally primitive, medical degrees used to justify oppression. Fanon recognized what others refused to see. These men suffered from the trauma of racism itself. Society was sick, but doctors blamed the victims. He wrote his doctoral thesis laying out exactly how colonialism manufactured mental illness, how white supremacy functioned as psychological warfare. His committee rejected it as too radical. So in 1952, Fanon published Black Skin, White Masks himself. The book exposed colonialism's deepest weapon, forcing Black people to see themselves through white eyes, split between two identities, never fully either one. Fanon watched it happen every day in his clinic. Black men staring in mirrors and seeing monsters. Algerian women scrubbing their skin raw, trying to lighten it. Patients who'd abandoned their birth names, their mother tongues, their entire identities, all for a chance at being treated human. But Fanon went further. He argued that liberation required recognizing this psychological split and refusing to perform for white approval anymore. Political revolution had to begin with mental decolonization, reclaiming the right to define yourself on your own terms. In Caribbean villages, people passed copies hidden in Bible covers. In African townships, students gathered in secret to read passages aloud. Why? Because Fanon said what no one else dared. The hate you feel when you look in the mirror, that's not yours. It was planted there. You're not sick. The system is sick, and you don't need anyone's permission to be free. That book exposed colonialism's playbook. But Fanon wasn't satisfied just writing about the disease. In 1953, he walked straight into its heart. November 1953, Frantz Fanon arrived in Algeria as head psychiatrist at Blida Joinville Psychiatric Hospital. The moment he stepped off the boat, he entered a nightmare. French colonists lived in stone houses with electricity and running water. Algerians lived in what Fanon described as a town on its knees, wallowing in mire. No lights, no infrastructure, systematic starvation. At Blida Joinville, Fanon revolutionized psychiatric treatment. He created cafe meetings where Algerian patients discussed their lives in Arabic instead of French. He established workshops for basket weaving and pottery, organized Muslim and Christian religious celebrations, started a patient-run newspaper. He was reconnecting people to their culture instead of forcing them to assimilate into French normalcy. But his patient roster revealed the true horror. French soldiers who brutalized Algerians during interrogations came to him with nightmares and psychological breakdowns. Algerian victims arrived unable to speak, unable to stop screaming. One French policeman sought treatment because torture had made him violent at home. He was battering his wife and children. The man didn't want to stop brutalizing Algerians. He wanted relief from the psychological cost so he could continue with a clear conscience. Fanon stared at an impossible truth. You cannot heal individuals in a society built on violence. November 1954, the FLN, or the National Liberation Front, launched coordinated attacks across Algeria, declaring war on French colonial rule. Frantz Fanon immediately chose a side. His hospital became a secret sanctuary. He treated wounded FLN fighters, hid weapons, provided medical cover for revolutionaries. By 1956, this impossible double life was destroying him. He was a French government employee, helping France massacre the people he was secretly protecting. On November 1956, he wrote his resignation letter. There comes a time when silence becomes dishonesty. France expelled him in January 1957, giving him 48 hours to leave Algeria. Fanon went underground instead. He surfaced in Tunis, joined the FLN openly as editor of their newspaper, El Mujahid, and became the intellectual voice of Algerian liberation. France thought expelling him would end the threat. Instead, within months, Fanon had become Africa's most dangerous diplomat. As FLN ambassador to Ghana, Frantz Fanon traveled across Africa, meeting revolutionary leaders. Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, Patrice Lumumba in Congo, Felix Mumi in Cameroon. At the 1958 All-African People's Congress in Accra, he advocated passionately for the African Legion, a continent-wide armed force that could coordinate liberation struggles from Algeria to South Africa. European powers understood the threat. One unified Africa, sharing weapons, tactics, and revolutionary consciousness, could dismantle the entire colonial project. Fanon was the architect connecting these movements. French intelligence sent assassins. Near the Algeria-Tunisia border, a landmine detonated under Fanon's car. 12 vertebrae fractured. He survived, barely. More assassination attempts followed. His body was breaking, but he kept traveling, kept writing, kept building networks of resistance. Then in December 1960, doctors diagnosed leukemia, months to live. Fanon's response? Raced death itself by dictating the most dangerous book ever written about colonialism. March through May 1961, Frantz Fanon lay in a Tunis hospital bed, dying, while his wife Josie sat beside him with pen and paper. For 3 months, through waves of pain, he dictated The Wretched of the Earth. Josie wrote frantically, capturing every word before the disease could silence him forever. The book opened with a declaration that made governments ban it immediately. Decolonization is always a violent phenomenon. Fanon explained that colonialism was born through force and maintained through force. Therefore, only force could destroy it. The colonizer spoke only one language, force. His most controversial argument came next. Violence had therapeutic value for the colonized. Fighting back didn't just win political freedom, it restored psychological humanity. Violence is a cleansing force that frees the native from his inferiority complex and restores his self-respect. The oppressed needed to fight not for revenge, but for rebirth. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote a preface that turned controversial into explosive. He told white European readers, to shoot down a European is to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, to destroy an oppressor and the man he oppresses at the same time. France banned the book the day it published. They smuggled it anyway, in hollowed books, in suitcases with false bottoms, passed hand to hand across Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, and into American ghettos where the Black Panther Party would make it required reading. Frantz Fanon's leukemia accelerated. He flew to Rome for one final meeting with Sartre, then accepted a CIA offer for treatment in the United States. He traveled under the name Ibrahim Omar Fanon. What happened next remains disputed. By the time Fanon received proper treatment at a Maryland hospital, it was too late. Double pneumonia set in. Some historians argue bureaucratic delays killed him. Others suggest the CIA calculated that a dead Fanon posed less threat than a living revolutionary icon who might survive to inspire more uprisings. December 6, 1961, Frantz Fanon died at 36, 7 months before Algeria won independence. He never walked free streets in a liberated Algiers, but his words were already spreading like a virus through every colonized nation on Earth. The Black Panther Party made The Wretched of the Earth required reading for all members. Bobby Seale handed Huey Newton a copy at one of their first meetings. Frantz Fanon's analysis of police as occupying forces became the intellectual foundation of their 10-point program. When Panthers organized armed patrols monitoring police in Oakland, they were applying Fanon's theory that colonized people must meet violence with organized counterviolence. In South Africa, Steve Biko used Fanon's psychology of liberation to create the Black consciousness movement. Biko taught that before you fight apartheid in the streets, you must kill it in your mind. Pure Fanon. Palestinian resistance movements treated his analysis of settler colonialism as a strategic manual. From Bolivia to Iran to Sri Lanka, liberation fighters discovered that Fanon had diagnosed their reality decades before they lived it. France still struggles with Fanon because he forces them to confront the torture, the massacres, the psychological warfare they disguised as civilization. American institutions fear him because his colonial analysis maps directly onto police brutality and systemic racism. When Ferguson erupted in 2014, protesters carried signs quoting a man who died in 1961. Critics argue universities sanitize Fanon, teach him as historical curiosity instead of living critique, strip away the call to arms that made him dangerous. But read him in prisons, at protests, in occupied territories, and his words still explode. The conditions he described haven't vanished. They've just rebranded. Franz Fanon never commanded troops or held office. He weaponized consciousness instead. Empires killed him at 36, but killing the man didn't kill the ideas. Every banned book spawned 1,000 smuggled copies. Every attempt to erase him carved his words deeper into history. His family paid the price. Josie Fanon carried his legacy through Algeria's messy independence, battled depression and alcoholism for 28 years, then died by self-destruction in 1989. But their children keep his foundation alive. Daughter Mireille runs the Franz Fanon Foundation. Son Olivier leads the Franz Fanon National Association. Fanon taught one lesson that still terrifies power. You don't need permission to be human. You don't need approval to be free. You have every right to take back what was stolen. And if they won't surrender it peacefully, take it by force. The most dangerous Black philosopher who ever lived. Dangerous because he loved oppressed people enough to tell them the truth. That truth still detonates in minds worldwide, teaching that liberation begins when you stop asking and start taking. If this story opened your eyes to the intellectual they tried to erase, subscribe to Black Stories Untold. Like this video, share it, and comment which dangerous truth teller we should cover next. Because they can kill the revolutionary, but they can't kill the revolution.
I want to pause for just a moment so that we can honor our ancestor, Franz Fanon. And I know it sounds like his first name sounds like the country, but his first name is spelled F-R-A-N-T-Z, F-R-A-N-T-Z. Franz Fanon, F-A-N-O-N. So I just want to pause for a moment as we remember our ancestor. Okay, thanks for that. And I don't know if that was your first time hearing that, Toney, or not, but I just want to pause for a moment to see if you have any reactions or if you want to say anything right here. I'm not sure.
Wow. I'm at a I'm at a loss of words. No, I had never heard. This is my first time hearing the Franz Fanon, and which is in a way it's sad on my part because I thought I was educated on all the revolutionaries, the ones he was talking about, Steve Biko and some others. I was like, I know them, but everything he was talking about is so true. I can't wait for the show to end to go back. I'm gonna get these books. I'm gonna get these books. But it also goes back to something we talk about all the time. If you're never educated to the truth, then you will perpetually live the lie. When they talk about that's why they don't want African American studies. That's why they don't want what they call critical race theories. That's why they want to shut down what they call liberal universities that will present this, will present books and ideas like this to people where they can start to think. And I love the last thing that was said, and I hope I quoted right. I know you will correct me, Denise. And he said, it doesn't cost you anything to change. Well, you're talking about the chains. Oh God,
I don't remember what part.
it's the end when he said about being free.
You don't need permission to be
You
free?
don't need permission to be free, and
Just paraphrase it for us.
yeah,
What did you hear?
basically what I heard was that. So we talk about this all the time. You have to untrain your mind. You have to start with your mind, and you have to get free in your mind. Then you can get free in other ways. And at the end of the day, and we talked about this before, this is a violent world. And sometimes to get the freedom you want, you have to be violent at times. If they don't want to give it to you, then you have to take it.
And I think what happens to people is that we have defined violence in very strict ways. Oh, wait, let me say this. The phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. Phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. I didn't want to take any calls during the video. 501-433-0088. But one of the things that we've done, especially in this country, is we have limited our understanding of what violence looks like and how violence manifests. And so most of the time when you say violence, people think that, oh, somebody's going to shoot somebody, somebody's going to hit somebody, somebody's going to kill somebody, assassinate somebody. And absolutely, that is one form of violence, no doubt about it. And I am one who believes in that kind of violence when it is justifiable. That's what I do. So that is one form. But when we stop for a moment and begin to expand what violence looks like, what does it look like besides somebody? If you're not looking at somebody fighting, what does it look like? And so when we think about this world, we have so many instances of violence. When we talk about hunger, that is violence. When we talk about poverty, that's violence. When we talk about the miseducation of our children, that's violence. When we talk about lack of access to healthcare, that is violence. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF. Thanks for calling Community Voices.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Okay, I'm looking at the book right now, The Wreck of the Earth by Frank Fenton. I'm very proud that you guys have upgraded, and really get into the thick of things of the revolution, and Frank Fenton, he is my hero. I've had this book for quite some time. I know you had stated that you've never heard of the book, which, is kind of unusual, but, the book has been around for a while. And also, Frank Fenton and others like, we're talking Jean-Paul Sartre, we're talking about
Yes.
the revolutionary of Haiti, and Jean-Jacques Dessalines and all those guys there that
Right.
possibly you've never heard of. A big shout out to all of them, and thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. And caller, I appreciate you. Wait, first of all, did you hear the caller say we didn't upgrade? We talking about the real stuff now. Okay. And let me and Lo says, I will repeat it again. Free your mind and your butt will follow. That's what Lo says. But I appreciate the caller saying, highlighting the fact that this book has been around for so many years, and yet it's unusual that Toney, when you mentioned that you hadn't heard of him. I just want to say that I have come to realize in my own life that there's so much that I don't know, so much that I've never heard about. And I think that's by design. I think that these stories are hidden for a reason. Like, think about what's happening right now with all of the erasure that they're doing about African American history, critical race theory, like all of those things. And so for those of us who come along after the event has happened, we don't know that we don't know. Well, let me just talk about me. I don't know what I don't know. And so when things like this come across my desk, I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, you, Toney, I done already ordered the books. I'm like that too. So I really think it's more of a usual phenomenon that we don't understand all about our history. And part of that, yes, is on the fault of whiteness and the system of white inhumanity. But I also think that some of that falls on us because we're not sharing all of the information that we have. And that's part of the concern I have as well.
And I love it. And here's where, just listening, this where it really just blew me away, and it showed me my lack of what I don't know. I grew up in Chicago. My uncles, my aunts, they were part of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panthers, and they talked about some of the other revolutionaries, but I never, and I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention or anything, but I think sometimes they'll give you one person, and I think here in America they will give you Martin Luther King, they will give you oh God,
I don't know.
they will give you a Jesse Jackson or a John Lewis. They'll give you that, but they don't give you the other whole picture. They don't give you the other pieces of the puzzle. And sometimes we get stuck on that one piece and we don't realize there's a bigger picture. Because when you start putting all these things together, when you put all those African revolutionaries together, you look at all the whole of these revolutionaries together, then you get a picture that not only you see a portrait of yourself, but you see a portrait of what needs to be done.
Well, in the case of Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they give us Dr. King, but only the sanitized version of Dr. King. Because no, I don't ever hear anybody quote during Black History Month that Dr. King said, I feel as if I have led my people into a house that's built, a burning house. No, we don't hear that part, right? And so they sanitize and then repackage it and give it to us. And then we around here talking about kumbaya, we shall overcome. And so we have, but we, again, if we're not aware that that's what they are doing, then shame on us. Oh, wait a minute. Here's Lo saying, I'm glad that you are a lifelong learner. That would be me.
That's it.
That
That's
would
it.
be me. But what caused me to want to play this morning is I was remembering a conversation that you had, Toney, with Solar Beam last Thursday. One of the things that I don't think that the conversation was between you, but both of you all made a statement that made me feel the way that I was feeling as I walked out the door. But you were talking about why don't we take advantage of the system that is in place that will allow us as Black folks to create our own school under the charter system that has been created. So since you have these vouchers coming out, whatever Huckabee Sanders is doing, there's a way that we can get in on it and begin to teach our own thing. And then Solar Beam called in at some point and said that, what about us creating some kind of culture, I don't remember the words verbatim, but what if we make up our own party, our own political party? I think it's people for more,
Yeah.
something like that. And so as I was walking out the door, I was thinking it at the time, but I couldn't talk. But I was walking out the door and I was like, that neither one of those is going to work for us, because what it does is it still allows us to function. It still forces us to function within the system. And so the system is not going to do right by us no matter what. So let's just say, even if we do start the school and it's Black school and we talking about Black, we centering Blackness and all of those things, we're still going to have to be governed by the policies that they give, the grant or the voucher, whatever so they can write in there, okay, y'all not going to be able to talk about this. Y'all not, if y'all, they still have control over it because they are controlling the system in which we have built our school. And so I feel the same way about the political party. If we start another political party within this political system, then it's not going to work because the system is designed for it not to work. So neither one of those strategies is going to work within the system. The only way that we can be free, the only way we can liberate is to do our own thing. We have to create that which we want to see. We have to create that which we have power to create. We want to create what other folks are not. This is what Fannin is saying. You can't wait for them to give us a school. You can't wait for them to educate our children. You can't wait for them to fix the political system. We must do it ourselves, and we are well able. Fannin said, you can have this degree. You can have this college. You can have all of this hospital. I'm finna go over here and fight for the people. I'm getting out of this system, and I'm going to fight on the outside. Caller, you're live on the air. Thanks for calling Community Voices.
Good morning.
Morning.
When we born our father, I appreciate, boy, I hadn't heard that book about that guy either. I thought I knew it or something. Well, we have a little problem. I get a little piece of knowledge, and I think I got it, and you all about your knowledge, not realizing we all have the same problem, and we should be getting the best solutions among the educated, non-educated, and everybody to solve our problem. It ain't about it. I gotta go writing, you get we worry about religion and all these things. We have a real problem, and we need to be getting some answers to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Let me tell you what Lo says. Lo says, politics and voting is a sums numbers game. He who has the majority controls the power. Politics and voting is a sums numbers game. He who has the majority controls the power. Caller, you're live on the air. Thanks for calling Community Voices.
Yes, people of being here. Now, we have to look and strategize when we talk about anything that has to do with the system of white supremacy, racism. And I know in that piece that Friends had that you just listened to, they did say the system of white supremacy. Now, you want to call it the system of inhumanity, but we have to look at the timing too. Right after President, not Clinton, well, right after the current president, President Trump, started doing all the bombing and showing the force that, and showing the missiles and the drones and all this that the white people have, especially with that example with Palestine. Now we have to remember the CIA plots and stuff, they know that we have to tolerate and perpetrate their system and being a part of their system, but at the same time, I saw this on YouTube right after the bombing, and I said, now this is how the white man strategize. They want to get us all riled up and stuff right at this point, because now that we see all the missiles that's being dropped on unarmed people, killing people at the schools, and they lose other side lose thousands, while we lose what we so far in this little last epic fury, we lost about 8 or 9, maybe 12, 13 people, where they're losing thousands. This will be the same kind of deal that they would do on us. Now we have to keep in mind this. Well, I'm just like I'm saying, a gospel of peace. How Mahatma Gandhi taught Martin Luther King that peaceful approach will prevail more than us thinking about violence, because at this point in time, and we have to look at the strategies and the plots, at this point in time, we have no counter artillery that can face these drones or these missiles in other areas that they know that we have in our territory. We might have the little pop gun and all that. Now we're talking about put down the gun. And my deal on that was our proper training. They had the guys in Georgia, the not effing around crew that came up, was going to go against the KKK. And I was really praying about that. Well, that was a few years ago. But like I say, our biggest deal that we need to get up on now is this black on black love and respect. That's our first step to this reparation and everything else. Now, anytime they can keep us quiet about the R word and black on black love and respect and stuff like that, we have to know this is their strategy to rile us up. Like I say, this book has been out for a while and all that, but for them to bring it up on YouTube and all these other, this is just another CIA plot to try to rile us up, to think about it. But I would say,
Oh, Solar Beam, I really want to say some more stuff. Solar Beam, I really want to talk some more. So I need you to stop. I want to talk some more. Okay, wait, let me say what Lo says. Lo says, I was thinking the same thing. Lo says Gandhi was a racist. When Solar Beam brought up what Mahatma Gandhi said to Dr. King, Gandhi was, I was thinking the exact same thing. So I think I've heard that Brother Wayne on Sunday mornings talks about, I think it's respect for love or something like that. Okay, so that's a conversation for him. That's not what I'm on. I'm not on no peace. I'm not on no respect for love. I'm not on that, because what I believe that Fannin says is, if you can decolonize your mind, that will change everything. Because the reason they have all these false narratives is because if they can, whatever they can get you to believe, your behavior is going to follow what you believe. So if you believe that you are a nigga, if you believe that you ain't nothing, if you keep keep saying white supremacy. Every time you say white supremacy, you are reinforcing in your mind subliminally that white people are supreme. White supremacy does not exist. I do not believe in it, therefore it does not exist. But white inhumanity absolutely exists. I see it every day. You see it every single day. We talked about it before, about the lack of health, lack of access to healthcare, where you can live, where you can't live, where your children can play, where they can't. All of that is violence. So as long as you keep limiting your understanding of these words that violence only means killing somebody, then we're not going to get anywhere. You have to expand your mind, and that's what Fannin is calling us to do. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF. Thanks for calling.
You know, when we say white, they say white supreme. I'm like you 100%. They so supreme, and all of the creation and the inventions, everything you have came from you. We gave it to them. Now we need to take it back for ourselves. We in a war. This ain't no friendship stuff. They know I love you bad. But although you treat me bad, I'm going to love you anyhow. You need to change that thing, like you're saying. That's the key.
Thank you, caller. But why do we feel that way? Why do we feel like I got to forgive you? Because that's the false narrative that we've been taught, especially through Christianity. They have controlled the narrative. They control what you believe, and therefore they control your body. Let me get what Lo says right real quick, Tony, before you go. Lo says, keep the mind weak and the body strong for labor and not an independent mind. Keep the mind weak and the body strong for labor and not an independent mind.
Going back to something I said earlier about the big picture and connecting the dots. And as I was listening to the video, it's almost like when you have that, the dog ears that we said. Oh. So the one thing that Fannin was saying is still in play today: colonization.
Mm-hmm.
Colonization. Because the one thing all these countries did, whether it's France, whether it's US, whether it's England, I'm going to colonize you. I'm going to take you over, and I'm going to put my thoughts, my ideas, my behavior on you to make you conform. And if you don't conform, then this is the consequences. And that's what I like about what Fannin said and what you just said, Denise. He saw the system and he saw the effect. He said, I can't be a part of this anymore. I got to get away. That's one of the hardest things. We think colonization is something that has happened in the past, and it's still happening. All you have to do, Iran is nothing more than we're trying to colonize you. Gaza, we want to colonize you. Ukraine, Arkansas, we want to colonize you. Why you think Erica Kirk was here? We want to colonize. We want to get you back into this colonization. We're not going to give you, and let's be honest, one of the greatest weapons that we have is our minds. That's why we say, free the mind, the rest will follow. The mind is a weapon. You can't tell me. Here is France. Here is Frantz Fanon. In his book, that's why I'm upset at myself. Because the book is still a powerful weapon to use to get free.
And that's what it says in the video, that what Fannin did was weaponize your consciousness. And so that's how you become a threat. That's how you become violent. I was telling somebody the other day, whenever I have to go to the airport, this is what I make sure I wear my Black Lives Matter t-shirt with the Assata Shakur quote on the back. And then I also make sure I do not wear a hat so you can see my bald head. And I'm walking through the airport, and I'm walking with purpose. I got my shoulders squared. I got my head up. I'm walking like I know I'm somebody, because I am, because God ain't make no junk. I used to have that poster. And when I tell you that the people, it's like parting the Red Sea as I'm walking down the airport. I don't laugh then. I wait till I get in my seat, and I'm so tickled because all I'm doing is letting you know that I know who I am, and I dare you to say something about it because I know how to fight without having to kill you with a gun. Now, I will kill you with a gun. That's the part I'm saying. I will do that, but there are also other ways. And if you can weaponize your consciousness, you become a threat. When you become a threat, they see you as violent. That's fine. I don't care how you see me. You need to know how I move. And I move according to what I know and what I believe, which is not what y'all over here talking about. Caller, you're live on the air. Thanks for calling Community Voices.
Hello.
Yes, you're on the air.
Yes, I was listening to your program where I believe in, gun violence, like Martin Luther King. But, as far as the war is concerned, no one wins in war. That was one of his statements, and I truly believe that. The only way you can win this war in this world is by loving one another. And I do believe in forgiveness because you have to forgive.
Why do you have to forgive, caller? Caller, why do you have to?
As a people as a whole, we must learn how to love and respect one another.
Caller, I'm sorry.
I say that when I was a child, I went to a school. It was mostly white, 3 blacks in our school. And our names were cupcake, chocolate chip, and cocoa. But you know what? I learned how to forget because my mother taught us we were just as good as anybody else. And I never forgot that. And then when later on, I was in school where we were in the majority. But we didn't treat them like they treated us. We were respectful and courteous. And I do believe in love and respect. It'll take us a long way. It's not education, being brilliant. It is love and respect. Because everybody wants to be appreciated. And we must appreciate our own brothers and everyone else. All lives matter, not just black. All lives matter. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Carl, I was trying to interrupt you. I was trying to interrupt you, and I shouldn't have been. I was trying to interrupt you. So if you are able to call back, caller, my question for you that I wanted to ask is why you have to forgive. I heard you say that your mother taught you how to forgive, and I heard you say that you have to forgive. And so I wonder, why do you feel that you have to forgive? What is that about? So I was, if you feel like calling back. But the caller says you have to love. I believe in love, and you have to have respect for everybody. All lives matter, not just Black lives. And I want to talk about that some more, but Lowe says this: love alone won't get it. And then he also says forgiveness is not for everybody, as in response to the caller.
So one thing I want to say, going back and my mind is racing. It is so many things are going through my mind, and that's why I love Community Voices. That's why I love KABF, because we open the door to have these type of conversations, but it also opens the door for our minds. So when other people, because I'm thinking, when it's talking about the Palestinians, it's talking about the people on the continent of Africa, and you can keep going. You can even say the Ukrainians, when they take what they're basically using the France Fanning playbook in rising up to defeat the colonizer. So with other people in other countries that we will support from this country, that yay, they're rising up. But then when it comes to us in this country and we want to rise up, people like, oh no, you can't do it. No, we don't want you to do it, but we want you to support. That's what Fanning was talking about with when he was going to war. You want me to go fight for you, and then at the end, when victory is there, I can't even march. And it's one award medal that they talked about, the Gear. That's one of the highest French medals for valor and bravery you can get. And you mean to tell me I can't even march with white Frenchmen who I fought to save? See, yeah.
Caller, please call back. I didn't want to interrupt Tony like I was interrupting the call. I'm gonna do better. Caller, please call back so that we can get you on the air. What's interesting to me about the caller who just called in, and I appreciate it because I know anytime someone calls in, this is how I feel about it. I feel like the person who's talking, they're using their one voice, but they're representing a whole lot of people. So there are a whole lot of people who are listening who agree 100% with that caller. And so that's how I look at when callers call in. It is not just one voice talking to us, it's more than that. And so what I find interesting is that I really don't have a problem with the caller said. If you want to forgive, if you want to love, if you want to respect, I have no problem with that. What I'm trying to understand is why does that have to be separate from you being able to stand up for yourself? Because right now what's happening is that we are so busy loving that we are not protecting. We're so busy loving that we're not fighting. We're so busy loving that we are not raising up. That we're so busy loving that we won't do the other part. So is it possible, is my question, for you to do both? Is it possible for you to say, I love people enough to know that I got to show up in a way that demands that you respect all of us? You want me to respect, no problem. But what about your respect? So what are you going to do when the person doesn't respect you? You going to love them? Does loving them keep them from not respecting you? How has that worked for us? Has that worked for us? And so that's all I'm asking. I'm not telling you not to love anybody. I'm not telling you not to respect anybody. What I'm saying is that we have to realize that we are at war, and whatever way you want to fight, however you want to fight, you got to fight. That's all I'm saying. Go on, Tony.
And so I think one of the things that
Hello? Go ahead, Tom.
I think one of the things that, going back to the caller, yes, love and respect is great. But what I think is being missed when they start talking about religion has diluted or misshaped the true spirituality of who we are as people. Religion has said that you do this, that you do that. Religion says no matter how much you get beat down, you're just supposed to smile and take it. But no, that's not the true essence of being a spiritual human being. A spiritual human being means that, yes, you have the right as a human to stand up and fight. You have the right as a human to live free. You have the right as a human to be liberated. Yes, it's great if someone loves and respects you and you love and respect them back. Yes, it's like a dog. A dog will love and respect you until that dog feels like you have disrespected him. And what that dog gonna do? It's gonna bite you. So I think people have to understand there's a difference between religion and true spirituality.
What I think also is happening is that, wait. This is what Lo says. Lo says, if you hit me, you will get hit back. If you hit me,
Yeah, that's what we were taught.
you will get hit back. So what's interesting to me about the whole thing is that whenever you hear somebody talking like the caller talked, I'm not trying to speak for the caller. I'm going to tell you what I heard from the caller. I heard Christianity in what she was saying. Well, I don't know if she's a Christian. I don't know. I'm not trying to figure that part out. I'm just telling you what I heard. I heard those principles that we teach in Christianity about, in westernized Christianity, the whitewashed Christianity, about the indoctrinated Christianity, about making sure that we love and we respect. But what about the Old Testament God? The Old Testament God didn't play with y'all. The Old Testament God said, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. And if there's anybody that the Lord has selected to be their prophets, it's us, because we are the members of the Black experience, the African diaspora. We are the ones who have been continually in one way or another. We are the ones that have kept this nation alive. It's been because of our labor. It's been because of our exploitation. It's been because of racism, capitalism. It's been because of sexism. We have weathered the storm, and we continue to produce for this nation. And yet it will not respect us. Not just the nation, the world. It will not. So at what point do we say, okay, Jesus, I want you to come along with me, but I'm going to need you to go back and remember your God. I need you to go back and remember the God that said, I want you to kill everybody. And again, He said the children, but I'm not saying kill anybody with your guns. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what Fannin says. If you will weaponize your consciousness, it will change the way that you behave. And when Black people realize how brilliant and beautiful we are outside of the white gaze, we'll stop killing each other. If Black folks realize that we don't need white people to educate our children, we'll stop letting them, as whatever we can get ourselves to believe, that's what we will do. So that's what I'm advocating for. And that's what I'm activating for. That's what I'm irritating for us to weaponize our consciousness and realize how much power we have if we would simply believe differently. This is what Lo says. All the comforts of today's living were created by Black folk. All the comforts of today's living were created by anything you want to talk about. You want to talk about the hairbrush. You want to talk about the comb. You want to talk about the spot, the light, the stoplight, anything, the broom, anything you want to talk about. You got to bring it back to Black folks.
All you have to do is remember something that Senator Tom Cotton said. And this is the essence of the colonization of America and the use of kidnapped and murdered enslaved Africans. Slavery was a necessary evil. Oh, we know it's wrong. But in order for us to grow and become the country or the place we need to, we have to do this. And that is still the same. That's still the same idea. It's almost like you're saying, you know what? Yeah, we're sorry we did that. But in order for you to reap the benefits that you had, the house, the cars, the job, in order for you to get that and live that now, we had to do this.
And that's a lot.
And that's supposed to be, and we're supposed to say, oh, that makes sense. That's okay.
So what Fannin says is, if we weaponize your consciousness, he said violence will set you free. And again, killing somebody with a gun or a knife or whatever, that is one form of violence. But when Fannin continues to talk, Fannin says, so what I did was I realized what was happening to the people. I realized that what they needed to do was to be able to talk in their soul's language. I realized that what they needed to do was be able to get together and tell their stories to each other. I realized that what they needed to do was understand how this world has impacted their mind. Like you over here, the Algerians, they screaming. They can't talk as a result of the torture. And so I need us to make sure that we are creating spaces for them to get back connected to their own civilization. I need you to connect with your own people. Know who you are. That's part of creating the weapon of consciousness to fight what's going on. So I keep saying, I'm not advocating for anybody to go out and shoot anybody. What I'm saying is there are ways to show up that are absolutely going to put us in position to fight back that ain't got nothing to do with no gun. Because your mind becomes the weapon. And I just wanted to say that one more time before I leave up out of here. Your mind is the weapon that we want to cultivate. Because whatever you believe, that's what you are going to do. And that's what we got to do. We got to stop believing this stuff that we believe in and believe on something else. And if you want to keep going to the Bible, that's fine. Because in Philippians 4, it says what? Think on these things. Whatever is peaceworthy, whatever is praiseworthy, whatever is good, whatever is kind, whatever is of good report. Let's think on those things. And then if we think on the things that Fannin is talking about, it will sure enough make a difference. I'm convinced. I'm fully persuaded. It'll sure enough make a difference.
Then nothing can separate
from the love of God, which is Christ Jesus, our Lord. Don't start preaching on it.
That's my favorite scripture. Nothing can separate.
Okay, thank you all so much for joining us for Community Voices Live right here at KABF 88.3 FM every single Tuesday from 9 to 10 o'clock a.m. Your girl Lola is already in the house, and she is ready for 2 hours of Jazzy Tuesday coming right at you. And I know for a fact, because I'm a living witness, because I experience it every Tuesday, that her music will do something to you if you pay attention to it. It'll do something to you. So she loves to start with the ladies. I'm going to get her started. I'm going to get her started with I Who Have Nothing by Shirley Bassey. And then we'll see y'all next time.
Don't forget, this Thursday, the Health Corner.
Oh, wait. Okay. This Thursday is the Health Corner. All right.
I grow hair out and stuff. I do these things.